Right, for Unit 30, your graphics, digital graphics unit, you've been given a scenario that's asking you to create logos. And your logos are for a company called Awesome Graphics. And to give you a little bit of a test, they've given you a brief. They like to style things in a retro way. Okay, so not really looking like curved things. I'll give some examples in a minute of what I'm talking about. Currently we're looking at the Unit 30 section of the intranet, and there are various resources on here that you're going to use. Harge has created a series of fireworks tutorials that take you through just like little basics. They're very short, shorter than this video. This is what I do, I talk over all the time, doesn't matter. But there are also other little resources that are going to talk a little bit about what we call flat design, which is how we want you to style your logo. So you can look at these. This is quite a nice one actually, because it shows you what the Facebook logos used to look like. And what flat design is really, it's trying to not mimic reality, because we've gone down this route of trying to make all our icons and logos look like the real thing in the real world, because we can use lots of colours and we can make things look shiny. So this shield's a good example. The original shield on Facebook for the security looked like a policeman's shield, and you can see it's got like reflections on it and everything. But now they've flattened the design and it's all like monochrome colours. It doesn't have to be block colour, but it's plain and simple. The university one's quite interesting as well, because that looks like two people with mortarboards, whereas they've gone with a mortarboard to mean that, and the phone doesn't look like a proper phone anymore. So that's what we mean by flat design. Okay. There are other examples on, but the best way for you to research this a little bit is to actually do some searching, and just search, and you'll. So if you just like say, what is flat design? And you'll get links to things. Some of them will be useless. Some of them will be good. Okay, here's one talking about how the difference between like iOS and Windows Phone. So Windows Phone went from the very get-go as a flat system, whereas you look at some of the stuff on iOS, if I zoom that in, and like the note-taking icon looks like a notebook. There is a proper word for this. I can't remember what that word is. It begins with S. It's a really long word. It's where we like try. It's just trying to mimic. There it is. Skeuomorphism. I knew it began with S. Where so skeuomorphism tries to make things look like how we see them, and we've always tried to do this from the very first time we could draw pixels on the screen. So like this. This is a good example. So you got like your books in the Amazon, or in the. This is the iBooks, isn't it? The books look like they're in a bookcase. Why? Well, because we can, and it's messy. Okay, which is part of it. You can look at, see the calculator, the on button, they look like lit up glass things. You know, so they're examples of what we're trying to do, and so you need to look around. I'm not going to go on and on about that. Okay, so we've got this retro style. Now there are resources that I've put on the intranet here for you. One of a good set of examples of flat design and retro style is Designers Republic. They've been going for a long while. They've worked with lots of different companies, but one of the most famous things they did was they did all the graphics for the Wipeout games for Sony. And these are just some examples of. So you can see they're nice and flat. They look modern, but they look retro because they've got these limited colour palettes. So it mimics how we used to do prints, where we only could afford to use like 3 colours when we did printed graphics. So it mimics that sort of thing. But these have got like a nice modern slant on it. So that's the sort of thing that we're looking for. And obviously you can find lots of examples of like retro stuff. The other thing that's on there is colour palettes. So whereas you used, did they use the colour palettes? You might have used limited colour palettes before, but this one groups them together for you, and there's loads and loads of different examples. So when you come to do your logo design, you might want to use some of these. Some of them have been removed, I don't know why. Probably stolen from other people. But you might want to use these as like colours that have already been tried before and mixed together. Okay, that's entirely up to you. So there's a load of things on there. Find your own as well. Okay, but just to give you a direct example of flat design, we've got some programs at college. Visual Studio 2013, which is built for Windows 8, which uses flat design, and we've also got an older version of Visual Studio called 2010. Okay, and I'm going to put these side by side. So these are essentially the same program, but they've got different sort of graphics for the icons. So if we look at just the folder icon here, it looks like a folder from a filing cabinet being opened. Okay, whereas we look at the folder one from the new version of Visual Studio, it sort of looks like a folder being opened, but it's been reduced. There's no shading. It's just pretty flat colours. The other one that looks a lot different, the little standard multiple floppy disks that we've always used for Save All. In the new one, they've just done two flat little graphics for floppy disks. And you can see this in a lot. If you've ever looked at Windows 8, and even just looking at the icons at the bottom, so we got icons for the scanner, for Chrome, that have got nice shading and curves. We don't do the shading when we're doing flat, simple icons. Okay, so you can see how the Visual Studio logo's changed. At the bottom, it's a Mobius strip, an infinite surface. Now on the old Visual Studio, that's all curved and it's got shading on it. In the new one, they've just gone and made a just like it looks like just a crisscross. It's the same logo, but envisions in a different way. Okay. So before you start this project, you really need to get a handle on what we're going to do. Now, in the next video, I'm going to quickly create a little retro logo, and I'll be looking at some source material to get inspiration before I start that. So I'll stop here.